Today I want to talk about a hashtag that should be a hashtag if it's not. And that is hashtag death to killers now. Now, I don't want anybody jumping to conclusions. I will explain myself, but I think you will agree. I also want to talk about a crisis, and that is the one that is happening at the border. Now, regardless of where you stand with this politically, you're on the left, you're on the right, you're not maybe informed. I'm gonna hopefully bring some stuff here that you will hopefully make the same judgment I made, and that is ultimately that all politicians are just full of shit, right? But there is a crisis that we cannot ignore. All right, but before we get into all this, let's roll that intro. All right, welcome back to another episode of the JTH show. Let's get into the first reason, right? The first story, really what got me going this morning. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I'm calmed down now, but earlier, man, I wanted to just talk about this, right? And that comes out of a hashtag that I thought about. Again, I don't know, and I haven't even checked it if it's a thing, but is the hashtag death to killers now. And the reason for that, as aggressive as that may sound, as violent as some people may take it, is because of, first of all, what has transpired over the last, few weeks, and ultimately what has happened here, at least here in the United States, time and time and again, right? That's that we have X person, right, whether it be female or male, that ends up going on a killing spree. They either get labeled serial killer, and then they're given some glorified nickname, or they get caught right on their first shooting spree, and then they're essentially either way end up being hosted, sometimes for their entire life, even if they're put on death row, free of charge. Some might argue semantics. Oh, but they're paying with their life, but you don't know what happens ultimately with their family members. Sometimes, depending on the situation, their own family members end up paying somehow, whether it be through the media or the people harassing their loved ones outside. Listen, you're trying to, at that point, split hairs. I'm talking about people. And I'll give you an example right now, like the Colorado shooter, right? We covered this POS, right, Josh? We covered the piece of shit. And I'm gonna cut to Josh real quick here so we can see us both. Of course, Josh is here back with me like always. That we covered him among with some other POSs that they get caught, and then they'll say something like, "Yeah, I did it." I'm not sure if they're saying it with the exact same words I just used, but ultimately they'll say something, yeah, it was me. I was there. My intention was to essentially mass murder, right? To commit mass murder. They're taken into courtrooms, and we're going to get into a video here real quickly where they're hauled into these, in front of a judge, and, they're scolded in front of the judge. Oh, you did this. You're a piece of that. Yeah. All the theatrics, right? That we see often play out in the media. But then my point is that then they'll get shipped away to some jail, and then we forget about them, but not the taxpayer, right? Well, at least not Uncle Sam. They don't forget to take away from our checks, at least here in the U.S. And I'm sure it's very similar to with many other governments, right? And how they deal with prisoners. So they haul away these pieces of out, and they get housed. They're fed. They're even taken care of when they get a disease. Right? Now, again, people can sit there, because I think I mentioned in the previous video, there are many advocacy groups say, oh, be more humane. I am sorry. I said it in the last video, and I'll say it now. I have zero empathy for these animals. I just don't. Once one of these POSs are brought forth and they are found to be guilty without reasonable doubt, I'm done, man. I mean, I don't know you, but I'm done at that point. When someone commits a murder and they don't know, like, hey, there's a lot of like evidence that doesn't line up. You know, it's like maybe murder in the first degree or second degree. Well, not even the first degree, but it would be in the second degree, I think, or third degree, right? Where it's like manslaughter. It's like you didn't intend it. I'm not specifically talking about those situations. I'm talking about like the Richard Ramirez's of the world or the Colorado shooter, right? Where they're like, no, I did it. Like I confessed to it. We don't need to go through the trial and try over and over. Like it's done. I did it, and I'm happy about it. That's what I'm talking about. Right?
Well, it's a big one for me because personally, as far as corporal punishment goes, I'm against it. I am actually against corporal punishment. I don't believe someone should die, even if they have killed in such cold blood as we have seen in the United States. But it's funny though, because a lot of these mass murderers, and well, at least these famous mass murderers, they're all from the U.S., right? You have your Ed Kempers, you have your, I can't remember his name, Berkowitz, you have your Charles Mansons, who technically didn't murder anybody. But I think this is a big, I don't know how to describe it exactly. It's kind of like a vicious circle. I mean, could this be a theory now that these people, because they've been living in a society where the death penalty is legal, they kind of devalue human life from a younger age or something like that? I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's something that might have pushed these people.
Right. Well, okay. So let's watch this clip real quick. I get where you're coming from, right? And by the way, I will also, I guess, add that, like with Josh, I respect anybody's belief, you know, that a death penalty shouldn't exist. That's fine, you know, to each their own, right? I'm not those kind of, you know, either, you know, podcasters or hosts that forces only my belief and you have to believe what I believe or we can't be friends. I think I will never stop saying it no matter how many episodes we do. We can agree to disagree, and that is actually one of the beauties of just coexisting, you know? We don't have to agree, but I will make my case like I'm going to try to do now. So let's go real quick to this fine gentleman here. And this is the POS shooter of Colorado, right? He's going to be essentially dragged into court. And I'm going to mute the video real quick here. But he's being dragged into court. I don't know why he's in a wheelchair. I don't know if he got his ass beaten. But I will say that essentially right now they're fearing for his life, right? Like the court, like, you know, they're essentially are saying that they're very scared. And I'm gonna unmute it here because I know that says a few things that I guess I want to remark on.
Aliwi Alyssa, who is being held without bail, was transferred Friday to another prison outside of Boulder County. Alyssa, who is facing 10 counts of murder and 1 count of attempted murder, will likely face additional attempted murder charges, according to Boulder County District Attorney Michael Dougherty. Law enforcement across several agencies have been working around the clock, still searching for a motive behind the shooting rampage, says Boulder Police Chief Maris Harold.
Like the rest of the community, we too want to know why. Why that King Soopers? Why Boulder? Why Monday? And unfortunately, at this time, we still don't have those answers.
Officials say the semi-automatic weapon used in the attack was legally purchased 6 days before. Alyssa purchased the Ruger AR-556 pistol, a weapon that resembles a semi-automatic rifle, after passing a background check. The owner of Eagle's Nest Armory, where the firearm was purchased, said he was shocked by the shooting, telling Reuters, quote, "Ensuring every sale that occurs at our shop is lawful has always been and will always remain the highest priority for our business." Officials revealed that Alyssa also had another firearm in his possession at the time of the shooting that he did not use. Asked whether authorities suspected any link to international terrorism, the DA said investigators were looking into all aspects of Alyssa's background. Alyssa made his first court appearance on Thursday, where his defense team asked the court for a full mental health examination. The Colorado shooting was the second mass shooting in the U.S. in less than a week, once again stirring up the fierce debate over gun control.
So, okay, a lot to unpack there, right? You have the discussion of mental health. You have the discussion of do we have enough gun laws, right? You had the discussion of the police chief said, why that King's Market, what's the motive? You have all these different discussions, including the discussion of, is this a terrorist attack? So personally speaking, I don't think this is a terrorist attack. I understand that this individual is linked to Syria. I'm not sure if he was born there and he got here, but I remember there was some discussion. And then there's obviously the recent attacks by the U.S., right, in that part of the region that they're trying to link. I personally don't think it's that. I don't think it's because you heard that in the news. Can I say that may be a reason in combination with mental health? Possibly. Okay? Possibly. But I don't know about you, Josh. But when someone decides to go as far as to arm themselves, plan out, and then execute a plan where they're going to take life from someone else, right? Not just contemplate it. Not just like, discovered, like you hear these stories like, somebody was discovered and then luckily law enforcement stepped in and stopped, the shooting or whatever. No, I'm saying like they executed on their plan and people lost their life, right? Or their life was taken away, really. It's hard for me to find empathy, right? And say, yeah, I guess we should just throw them in jail, lock with a key, but we're still going to pay for everything for them, including meals, healthcare, and all this other stuff, right? Because it doesn't, I don't know if anybody understands this. It's not free to run a prison, especially not in the U.S. Maybe in some parts of the world where it's like prisoners are ran to prison, basically, and they're just in some hole. It's just not like the Dark Knight, right? Where they throw prisoners in like a hole and like there's no guards. They just throw them down there. No. Again, I said it before. I've spoken to people that have been in prison here in the U.S. and also know of prison life outside of the U.S. And they say, dude, regardless of the crazy crap that you hear, it's like night and day, right? When you compare prison U.S., non-U.S. So this guy's going to be taken where? To a U.S. prison. To eat up what? Taxpayer dollars. And he's just one of the people. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I see where you're coming from with that. I mean, there's always the argument that it's going to cost to keep anybody alive, right? I mean, that's just a fact of life, right? It costs to keep people alive. However, I still think that there's something important that we could learn from him, because how can we try and stop this type of attack happening again? While asking the person who did it. There doesn't seem to be anyone else who's connected with him to motivate him to do these crimes. And sure, it's like, why try and interview a crazy person? Or in inverted commas, we'll see after after what they say. But I think that there's still something that we can learn from him, from actually studying him, seeing why, trying to understand crazy. You know what I mean?
I'm not saying that we can't learn something from this. I don't think he needs to be alive while we learn from it.
I think he needs to be alive to be able to speak.
I guess, sure. I mean, I guess if you want to give him to like scientists or psychologists rather, for them to study them, I suppose, and make them lab rats. I guess, but here's to go along with what we're talking about. Check this guy out, right? Confirmed convicted serial killer, right? Joseph Edward Duncan. I had never heard of this guy, right? The article came out today, the 29th. So in the article by CNN, it says serial killer Joseph Edward Duncan III, who was facing execution after being convicted for the 2005 kidnapping and killing of Dylan Groene, a 9-year-old Idaho boy, died Sunday morning, according to a news release from the United States Attorney's Office for the District of Idaho. Duncan, 58, had been diagnosed with terminal brain cancer before his death. In May 2005, Duncan murdered Brenda Groene, the boy's mother, Slade Groene, the boy's teenager brother, and Mark McKenzie, the mother's boyfriend, at their home just outside I don't know how to pronounce that, Idaho, before kidnapping the boy and his 8-year-old sister. Right? Duncan tortured both children and killed the boy. The boy's sister, Shasta Gurney, was spotted several weeks later in a restaurant, and Duncan was arrested, the release said. Now, it goes on to detail more of like the trial and, you know, everything that, you know, like everything that happened, everything that transpired in this whole thing, right? But what blows my mind, right, is that the same man here had been killing other children. So you can say, well, you know, maybe that's even though it was horrific what I just read, many people, and again I repeat, advocacy groups will say, oh, you know, circumstance, you know, this guy might have been wrapped up with the mother in some love triangle, passion. I didn't call them passion murders or something, right? When you kill out of passion. No. This guy, the same Duncan guy, in the article it says also admitted to killing other children. Right? As an example, a boy from Riverside County back in 1997. So he had a long history of doing stuff like this. Here's the original article, by the way, where it says, you know, there's the same Duncan guy. Look at that guy. That's the face of a POS killer. And this is the guy that we captured, as you read, you know, as I just read for you guys, convicted and everything. And then he got to die probably under some kind of medical health care, right? Some hospital, prison bed, being fed 2 to 3 meals a day, you know, laying there, maybe even watching TV. And he took away the life of children, not to mention adults, right? Since when? Since, according to the article, again, we go back to it, 2005, right? Even if you say, well, maybe he was captured a year or two later, the whole trial takes years, fine. Let's fast forward from 2005, even if you're going to argue, again, split hairs, 2008. We're in 2021, right? More than 10 years on the taxpayers' dollars, he was allowed to breathe, live, even if you were to plead his case and say insanity. Don't worry, prisoners took care of them. You know, however, they say prisoners take care of other child murders and rape. Okay, fine. I was just telling Josh before we started filming, I have also heard of stories of the whole like prisoners take care of prisoners in that way. I don't want to get too graphic, but you know what I mean, right? They say that many of those prisoners actually kind of enjoy that because they find out that several of these individuals are so messed up in their mind that they are like, pain? What are you talking about? What are you trying to do? Like beat me up, hit me? You know, R 4-letter word, me? That's the, you know, I like that, you know, for a lot of those prisoners, right? So they're like, go ahead, do all that to me. You're really giving me a good time. So when, you know, we hear all these like, almost like they sound like, almost like wise tales, like, oh, you know, oh, you don't touch children, dude, because when you get into prison, they're going to touch you. They want, a lot of these individuals are so twisted that they want that. So we're threatening with the good time almost. In addition to that, I was telling Josh stuff that came out of like Richard Ramirez's mouth, right? The infamous serial killer, right? He felt like he wasn't locked up with prisoners. The prisoners were locked up with him, right? Which is a lot of, again, the twisted, sadistic minds, right? That we end up sometimes luckily capturing and putting away, but putting away on our dime. So once they are convicted, once they are confirmed murderers and serial killers, like the Colorado man, why are we letting them breathe? I understand your point, Josh. You're saying, hey, well, let's study them or whatever. And even that, I'm like, how much can you really study a POS? Let's really put that money that we would put to them back into maybe fixing the system, like you said, because I will agree with you there, that made these individuals, right? Possibly. Some of them, I understand, were born with a mental illness that drove them to this. But a lot of them, I agree with you. Our system here in the United States, in our society, has created monsters, right? So my point here is, instead of giving them all this money, right, thousands of dollars over the course of whatever time it takes for them to die in prison, let's put that money back into to fix the streets, fix the system that created these monsters, right? again, I just, the whole death penalty is a joke, right? Well, I'm not going to say like you, I disagree with the death penalty. I very much believe in it, but I agree with you that like, I think a lot of people feel like you feel because, oh, you're put on death row. Oh, you have 2 life sentences. It's like, what the hell does that even mean? It's like, what? People have plans on living 2 life sentences? Like,
Yeah.
what?
I don't know. I mean, I guess the last thing I can say about it. Oh no, I forgot it. What was the last thing I was going to say about it? Damn it! Sorry,
No, it's all right. It's all right. It's all right. I know. I talked it out of you, but I'll come back to you. But that's my point, man. When I saw these 2 articles, I saw the Duncan guy that thank God died already, and then I saw in that same article, I think I skipped over it, but it said that one of the mothers of the victims that still was alive, was all she can feel is like, well, thank God this guy's already dead. And that, if anything, this is what kind of drives my whole point. It's like a lot of these victims, and I luckily have never had a serial killer kill someone in my family. Never come across, I've never, again, knock on wood, have never come, and I never want to come across one of these mass murders and do something directly to me. But that's also my second point, I guess, or my third point at this point, I lost track, that I don't need it to happen to me for me to care. That's the problem also with the world, right? Is that we critique people that don't give a crap, like the rich, because they're not living in poverty. They're not living in the slums. So it's like, dude, care. You don't need to be in the slums to care. Same sentiment. I don't need this to happen to me to care, right? About a mother, like in this case with the article, it says like now she feels like she has a bit more, more peace, knowing that the animal that took away her son, it's basically, was finally dead, and it's like, I feel for that. I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a brother, I'm a son, and I don't need for any of my family members to go through anything traumatic like this for me to be like, you know what? Now I'm going to join one of these groups and care about, murderers killing family members. No, I feel the pain. I feel the anger. It's like they do something like this, get them out. Again, that's just the way I look at it. Hashtag death to killers now. You don't need to agree, Josh. I understand. It's so cool. We're still friends.
Fair enough. I mean, I guess the thing is that Duncan guy, I think in that particular situation, he'd already been given the death sentence, seeing as he had brain cancer, right?
Yeah, no, well, he was given the death sentence long before. I don't know if he was diagnosed or he found, whatever. However, we found out he had brain cancer.
Right.
But he already had been in prison for again, over 10 years, just sitting there, and I don't know, it's like 10 years for what? Like, it's like, again, I make joke of it, but it's like a judge sits there and it's like, order, sir, you will be sentenced to 200 years in prison. It's something outrageous all the time. 120 years. It's like, why? What? Why? What a joke is that?
That never made sense to me as well. It's like, really?
Yeah. Like, oh, well, okay, it's all right. We all die naturally at 200 years old. So, yeah, okay, by the time, I do my 120 years, it's all right. I'll still have a solid 30 years to live. It blows my mind, dude. But again, that's why we are one of the biggest mockeries in the world when it comes to the highest, I think it was like the highest incarcerations per capita. Here they say like, oh, a black person can't walk in the street because they're incarcerated automatically. There's all these crazy allegations that come out of the U.S., all right, or from the world regarding the U.S., because it's an effing joke. It's a joke. Yeah. Like somebody does weed like in the 90s or in the 80s, or sold weed, a few grams or whatever, and it's like, 20 years in prison. And it's like fast forward 10 years or whatever, and it's like, oh, that weed is legal essentially everywhere now. We covered it. In Oregon's like, throw in mushrooms, throw in acid, anything you can stick in your body, just thumbs up, Oregon, And then there's some people in prison right now saying, are you kidding me? Like, I was carrying like a little pocket of weed. Are you serious? And I'm still in here. That's why we're a joke in that aspect, when it comes to the prison system. So that's my point. Like, we're going to be like, oh, death row. People are like, dude, you're handing it out like chocolate. It means nothing. Like, people are like, okay, oh, death row. Okay. So I'm in jail forever. Okay, fine. I'm going to probably just die in here. In the meantime, we even give prisoners here like the last meal, like it's like Last Supper, because we're so religious here in the U.S. We're so hypocrites. It's like, what would you like to eat? T-bone with mashed potatoes and some homemade pie. Got it. You got it. John Wayne Gacy, who raped and killed children. You got it. Bring this guy T-bone. It just makes no sense, dude. We're full of shit. Like, who are we kidding? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that stuff definitely that you just said is like that's the whole thing with the United States. It seems to be a big paradox the whole time. It's like this, but also this at the same time, which is two completely opposite things,
exactly.
right?
Exactly. But alas, I mean, we'll leave it there. If your point comes back to mind later, it's fine. We'll interject it. But let's jump into the next story, because the next story is also a juicy one that is full of like LOLs, like it's just like always a big joke. So we have to start off this segment, a few articles actually, but the first one will be out of the Washington Post. Here, for those of you guys listening on the podcast, the article reads a headline: family groups crossing border is soaring, numbers point to next phase of crisis, right? And it is very true. We covered it here numerous times, including that one episode that I didn't record that we always go back and reference. We have seen it with our own eyes. Those of you guys that have lived or live in any border town probably see it too. Those of you guys that cross regularly between Mexico and the U.S., regardless of what border town you live in, probably have witnessed it. It was back in San Diego or San Diego, Tijuana, where I was before, and it's surely true and holds the same truth here in El Paso, Juarez. So in this article from the Washington Post, there is some critique came out yesterday. The article reads in part: the Biden administration's attention along the Mexico border has been consumed for the past several weeks by the record number of migrants, teenagers, and children crossing into the United States without their parents, at the rate that far exceeds the government's ability to care for them. So that's like literally the biggest highlight. Anybody can go and find these articles, right, and read the whole thing for yourselves. I don't have that much time, but that's like the biggest thing that jumps out at you, which is record numbers that we don't have the ability, right, to care for. More importantly, those record numbers are composed from children, right? And teenagers, which are still considered children, right? Even if they're in the teenage bracket, they're still minors, okay? We have a little bit more, which reads: DHS expects approximately 500,000 to 800,000 migrants to arrive as part of the family group during the 2021 fiscal year that ends in September. So by September, these are the numbers that they're expecting at the rate, right, that they are seeing right now. Now you can say, whoa, JT, that's because it's a right-leaning website. Dude, the Washington Post, owned by one of the biggest lefties, Amazon, Jeff Bezos, or I should say Jeff Bezos, which is owner of the Amazon. No, this is not Breitbart. No, this is not the Daily Wire, which we also cover here, because unlike other YouTubers and other media platforms, the JTH show is composed of two individuals with their own mindsets, with their own ways of looking at it, not two people that are trying to pull you to the left or pull you to the right. No, very much in the middle, right? You hear Josh's points, my points. This is why Josh is like the perfect host, because he sees it one way, I see it another, and you guys have to make up your brain and not let it be manipulated only by the Washington Post or only by the Daily Wire, right? So anyways, now we got to this article. Let's move on to the next one real quick. And that comes out of the Border Report, okay? That article reads, and it's also fresh, right? Freshly released. Expelled from the U.S. at night. Migrant families weigh next steps. Now here I'm going to read some of the stuff that I found, again, very important, and it jumps out at you. Ready? So this happened. They're citing Reynosa, which is where people are being sent back to, or one of the places. In one of Mexico's most notorious cities for organized crime, migrants are expelled from the United States throughout the night, exhausted from the journey, disillusioned about not getting a chance to seek asylum, and at crossroads where to go next. Marisela Ramirez, who was returned to Reynosa about 4 a.m. Thursday, brought her 14-year-old son and left 5 other children, one only 8 months old, in Guatemala because she couldn't afford to pay the smugglers more money. Listen real carefully. Now, facing another agonizing choice, she leaned towards sending her son across the borderline to settle with a sister in Missouri, aware that the United States is allowing unaccompanied children to pursue asylum. Anybody that doesn't find this incredibly, alarming, I'm sorry. Not to mention the picture that we're seeing right now on screen, guys. For those of you guys seeing on the podcast, we have a child, children, just sleeping on the floor like you would probably see, and I almost feel like now is customary to see adults here in the U.S. sleeping on the floor, bums, right? But these are children, man. I understand people be like, dude, I've been to Mexico and you see Las Marias with their kids. It shouldn't be normalized, man. This shit is insane, right? When Las, quote, Marias are sleeping on the floor with their kids asking for money, it is entirely different, right? Because they're there because, maybe they, I don't know, man. I'm not even going to get into it. These children, in this case, are here because they are seeking something that a president very irresponsibly worded. Now they can backpedal, and the Trump lovers, stupid, the Biden lovers, excuse me, I'm so used to blaming Trump for everything, which is like the Trump. I'm sorry, I mean Biden, right? Come on, they're just two peas in a pod at this point. That's my opinion. Biden, right? The Biden lovers will be like, no, it's because you guys took his words out of context. Yeah. Listen, the Trump lovers used to say the same shit. Okay, I don't care. The point of the matter is that we have children, right? As I've read to you guys right now, in both of these articles, migrants saying, yeah, I'll send my kid over because their belief is that Biden will let the kids come in. Maybe not the family, maybe not the mother with the kid, but screw, send the kids in. We can also split hairs here, like we did with the first story, and say, well, that's on them. What, horrible mothers, horrible fathers. I've said this before. We don't know what they're fleeing, man. We don't know. For a mother to do that, to say, I'd rather send my kid alone into the arms of who knows what than to send them back to where we came from. What does that tell you? Right? Josh, you tell me, man. Am I to something?
Well, I think Biden's completely, like I've said it before and I'll say it again, Biden's completely shot himself in the foot with this. And in an attempt to try and be like some kind of humanitarian populist, he's just kind of fallen on his face. And now people are really suffering for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, man. And I'm glad, listen, you're having two guys here who have difference of opinion all the time. And we can even agree that he really effed it up, man, by going out there and saying what he did. We're going to let, 300 to 500 or whatever number was in per day. And, we're not the previous administration. We're better. You need to be more careful, man. Right. Furthermore, I'd rather him come out a bit more harsh, if you may, and say it's not going to happen. You're not going to come in. Yes, you can say, well, that sounds like Trump. Listen, right? But at least people are not going through, to these lengths of saying the savior is here. It shouldn't be viewed that way, right? And it is. So, okay, another point that we talked about before that I said, and listen, this article came out, I believe, today, and I called it. Go back to watch the videos. I said, we need to do something about it now before people take it into their own hands. Check out this article. Report: soldiers allegedly hold Central American migrants at gunpoint, beat them and say, you can't cross into the U.S. Army commander says men, quote, not his soldiers, but the rifle seen on video is the type made for Mexican armed forces, right? Now, I want people to understand this, whether it be people, making themselves out to be heroes, making themselves out to be border watchers, making themselves out to be, unofficial immigration or whatever. It doesn't matter. On either side of the border, you do not want these people thinking they have to do these kind of things because they feel like the government is not doing their job. Because while a official, right, person that works for the government, again, either in Mexico or the U.S., have like these, like, man, if I shoot this guy, even if they are racist, even if they are whatever you want to mark them as, they still think, they probably are thinking like, man, if I let my gun go off, I'm going to lose my job. I can go to prison. So they have those, reservations. And for that reason, they're like, I won't do it. I might ruffle you up. I'm not saying border patrols never ruffle people up. I'm sure they do. But they know they can only go so far. Somebody that's, unofficial, some kind of what do you call them when they want to be like these wannabe heroes? What do you call? What's that word?
Oh, like
the what again?
Vigilantes.
Thank you, vigilantes. What's holding them back? If anything, they're like, hey, they think I'm CBP. They think I'm Mexican immigration. Poof, run. Right? I called it. And this is going to continue happening, right? You have all these people that probably do have some hidden agenda. You want to say, well, yeah, they just said Mexico. It's probably the cartels. Dude, we have people here in the U.S. that does the same crap. These border, I don't know what they call them. I think they call them like the desert angels. I don't even know what they call them. But there's these groups of these militia groups, right? Yes. Throw your race card out. Yeah, normally white men. Yeah. It doesn't matter. I'm not arguing whether they're white, Mexican. It doesn't matter. There's militia groups that they're thinking they're CBP. There's videos, by the way. You can go Google this free, my friend. Go and look it up. They will supposedly help CBP. The worst part is that the CBP is not even doing anything about it. They're almost encouraging it because they are overworked. You see what I'm saying? It's dangerous, man. It's just incredibly effing dangerous, right? So very quickly, I'll touch on it on the article to give you guys a little bit more. So this article that we just read the headline happened in El Paso, Texas, right? Men dressed like soldiers held a group of Central American migrants at gunpoint near Mount Cristo Rey before turning them over to Mexican immigration authorities, a newspaper reported. You guys can go and read the rest of the article, but it just goes on to describe how these men looked and acted like they were authority, when in fact they were not. And of course, a lot of these migrants, well, for one, they don't want to get shot. Two, they don't really know how to recognize. They know they don't have any rights. So you can't also sit there, because I saw a similar article on TikTok and countless arguments of freaking entitled Americans. Well, they can totally ask them to show their badge. What are you talking about? You think someone from Central America is going to sit there and be like, excuse me, can I see your badge? And I want your name. And I'm going to talk to your supervisor. What are you talking about, entitled American? Right? Those are the idiots you see all the time on cop videos. I don't answer questions. I don't answer questions. Yeah. All that works for your local police. You have your little iPhone and you're filming. These are Central Americans. They're carrying a water bottle at best and maybe like leftover food from 2 days ago. They're going to sit there and be like, I want your supervisor's number. Bring me a sheriff right now. What?
Yeah, that iPhone doesn't have Google Translate, right?
Yeah. Come on. People use your brains, man. So and again, the worst part is that some of these militia groups, they know that. It's like, what are they going to do? Right? And here, I'm going to call her right now, and knocking on wood, hope it doesn't happen. I hope we don't end up getting a story where it says that some of these Central Americans get a wind of what's happening with these so-called unauthorized border control people, militia groups that I'm calling them, and they don't say, you know what? Let's pick up a couple guns. So if they try to stop us, we'll have a little old-fashioned, Western shootout. And then what? And then we're going to do something? God forbid a stray bullet lands in the wrong house, because if you don't know this, they're not just crossing through the desert. They're crossing sometimes through people's backyards. Here in El Paso, I've learned that a lot of houses are literally like back to back with the border. Like their house is the border. You don't want people to have these, shootouts because they're like, hey, you know what? We just read the article, or the article was read to us. We have to be more vigilant. Let's not even confirm that they're actual border patrol. Just shoot back at them because we're hearing that they're unofficial. Again, the picture can get effing wild from there. Stray bullets, shootouts, dead bodies. Why do we want any of that? Why? Biden needs to come out, put his big boy pants on, and very harshly clean the record. Screw the lefties. Screw the righties. I don't care what group he's afraid of. I don't care. Come out very publicly, look at the freaking camera and say, I'm sorry. I'm reenacting some of the policies that may have made us look racist. Nobody's coming in. I'm shutting down the border to at least demotivate some of these people. Maybe not all, but enough of these people so that the message can get back home to Guatemala, to Honduras, and say, dude, Biden's this, Biden. Who cares if they call you a traitor? Who cares if they call you Trump? Or who cares? But they'll stop coming in waves that they are coming in right now. At least that's one thing that you can do, at least as a very mild, right? Instead of coming out and saying, well, and if you guys listening on the podcast, I'm trying to mimic him because not too long ago, a couple days ago, he had a press conference where you can tell the guy just lost his train of thought.
Like to be able to, anyway, we're going to get a lot done. And
it never happens to me, happens to Josh, but I'm not the president. We're not the president, okay? We don't have multi-million-dollar staffers and equipment around me, but whatever. And he literally just like, anyways, and he just moved on to the next point. It's like, you were saying something, you were addressing the nation. Oh, no. Okay, never mind. Whatever, man. I'm sorry. He needs to do it because otherwise they will just keep coming. And again, don't want to sound like a broken record, but I would hate to hear us covering another story that ends much tragically than this, right?
Mm-hmm. You know what? I think that would be the smartest thing for him to do. It would be amazing if that did happen. But I think what's more likely is going to happen, he's going to come out, make an address and say, we've tripled border control or something like that. Or we've invested even more in manpower, person power to protect the border. That's what he's going to say.
Yeah. You're right. You're right. I would not be surprised. You are probably 100% right, man. And, it's scary, man. It's scary because, they used to say Trump is being rammed by the extremists and the right wing, blah, blah, blah. And to a certain extent, I actually believe that. Well, this guy is no different if he's being ran, or at least he's afraid of the lefty cancel culture groups, right? It's like, I want to be reelected, which, by the way, here's something else that pissed me off. He's already, again, same shit Trump was being bashed for. Oh, Trump is just worried about his reelection. Just so everybody can shut up, Biden already came out and said, I'm going to run again, which Josh and I were making, the math today, and we're like, 102. Got it. Cool. No, great job, man. Yeah, you are optimistic, my friend. It's okay.
How many sentences is he going to be living?
Yeah. It's like, all right, whatever, man, But yeah, sure, he's different than Trump. Anyways, let's go to the next article. We're almost done, guys. That is coming out of the Daily Wire. All right. Yes, it's Daily Wire, ran by Ben Shapiro, right wing, blah, blah, blah. Like I said, for those of you guys just tuning in or skipping through our videos, we cover all outlets here. Washington Post, Daily Wire, TYT, everyone. The Daily Wire. Cruz to Biden. Let the media into CBP facilities so America can see your administration's failures. All right. Now, the article goes on to describe, what Biden hasn't done. But really the important thing, because I want to wrap up the show, is to show the hypocrisy, that exists within our government, which I know a lot of people already understand that and know that. But from those of you guys that are blind to either side, understand that these bureaucrats are full of S. They lie through their teeth and will ignore and ignore. All right. When we had Trump in office, who remembers a little bit of this? AOC going out. I'm sorry. I will call out anybody. I don't care if it's Bernie Sanders, AOC. I don't care if it's what was this? The other guy, Ted Cruz. I don't care who it is, Republican or Democrat. I'm gonna call you out. So this video from AOC, beloved AOC to many, she was out, when the border happened, the whole border crisis really started, right? Which, to be fair, I know it didn't start with Biden. It's gotten more aggressive with Biden, but it did start in Trump's administration. So when we had a whole bunch of caravans coming over to the U.S., we had a lot of people already in the cages that Obama built. I won't let anybody forget that either. We had AOC. Oh my God, these cages. So let's see a little bit about that clip.
Today was unconscionable. No child should ever be separated from their parent. No child should ever be taken from their family. No woman should ever be locked up in a pen when they have done no harm to another human being. They should be given water. They should be given basic access to human rights. And it is a false notion. The idea that we have to choose between people is a false notion. No child ever has to suffer for the benefit of another. And I will never accept that argument.
Okay. So I am not against anything she just said, except I want that same energy right now. Because these kids in cages that she was talking about didn't end when the bad orange man left White House. Right? It's still happening. Report after report, different outlets, from all the way from the Daily Wire on the right to the Washington Post on the left, are all confirming the kids in cages is still very much happening. I don't see AOC out there again. Right? Now, for those of you guys who are like, well, what you're about to get into, AOC was talking from the outside of the facilities. You would be so wrong. We're going to jump in that video because we don't have a whole bunch of time to watch the whole thing, but we're going to jump to the part where AOC herself spoke and filmed inside of the facilities. All right?
Are facing.
So for those of you guys just listening to the podcast, the video has a quote on here, or a little lower third that says, Rep Castro took videos from inside the facilities with a smuggled device, later posting them to Twitter.
Yes.
So in the video, she's going around asking, she's filming these ladies on the floor with what appears to be like blue sleeping bags maybe. And she's asking in Spanish if anybody needs medical help or medical care, right? And the ladies are essentially just telling them how things have been. Now they're shooting a piece of paper. Well, I don't know, it looks like there's names on there. So she was in there, right? Filming all up in there. Now we have, from the same facilities, the opposition. In this case, it would be Ted Cruz going in and trying to do the same thing. And this is what he got.
Please respect. Please give dignity to the people. Please give dignity to the people.
So you work for the commissioner, your senior advisor. You were hired 2 weeks ago, and you're instructed to ask us to not have any pictures taken here.
Please respect the people,
because the political
rules.
Leadership at DHS does not want the American people to know it.
Please respect the rules,
You keep
sir.
standing in front of the pictures, so
Please
you don't want the
respect the
pictures
rules.
taken. The rules are arbitrary, and
Please
they're
respect
designed
the
to
rules
keep
and
the
give
American
the
people
people
in the dark.
dignity and respect. That's all we ask.
Well, no,
Dignity
it's
and
not.
respect.
You're asking, is this
Please-
dignity and respect? Look at
Please
these people.
give
There's
dignity
a
and respect
pandemic.
to the people.
Let me ask you. There's a
I
pandemic.
respectfully ask you, sir.
There is a pandemic. Is
Full-hearted,
this respecting the rights of these
full-heartedly, I
kids?
ask you. Please
Are you
respect
respecting the
people.
rights of these
This
kids?
is not a zoo, sir. Please don't treat the people.
You're right, and this is a
as such.
dangerous place.
Please don't treat the
And
people
your
like
policies,
this. That's all I ask
unfortunately,
for you,
are
sir.
trying to hide them. I understand
That's
you
all
were
I ask
instructed
you.
when 18
I ask
senators
you
came
to
down
please
here.
respect the people.
So there's a lot more of that, right? Just them talking over each other. He wants to get his little, film to show the world, blah, blah, blah. The same crap as AOC, right? Smuggled. Get the hell out of here. It's ridiculous, man. She didn't smuggle anything. Is it at the time she was allowed to, right? Because it was all about, let's hit Trump. Let's hit him. Let's show the world what nasty, ugly, orange man did. And now it's like, oh, it's Biden. Oh, now there's somebody in your face. Oh, really? You don't know that these senators and whatever they are, governors, you know that they have cell phones? Like she smuggled it in, right? Somehow she elaborate. Come on, man. It's a bunch of BS. It's like one side, let's show how ugly Orange Man was. Fine, done. Fast forward 2 years. We're about 2 years at this point. No. Dignity for the people. What dignity? Anybody has seen countless videos of showing children on the floor with these foil-like blankets. Right? Como dice el mexicano, cuando les conviene. For my American speakers, or English speakers only, excuse me, not American speakers. I'm going to get killed for that one. For my English speakers. When it's convenient. Right? It's ridiculous, man. All this is just completely disgusting.
I mean, am I the only one who's seen the irony in her saying, please respect the people? Do you know what I mean? It's like she's standing right in front of us. Like, you can do something about this, but you just choose not to because you respect people too much. What a load of absolute crap.
Yeah, absolutely. Wouldn't there be more respect to show how maybe we could do more for them? Hey, look at how they're living, right? I mean, think about it, Josh. If you were there, right, and like they're being piled up on top of each other. Countless reports that they're over like 1,500%. 1,500%. Go look it up. Google is free, right? So that would be like they can have just a few hundred people and they're in the thousands. So people are, sleeping elbow to elbow with each other. Children, everybody, adults. Wouldn't you want, as an employee working there, to show that, to say, hey, we need to have more eyeballs on this? Where are all the celebrities that were out rallying when the orange bad man, or bad orange man, whatever was elected, and all the celebrities and everyone out here rallying, Madonna, like, we gotta get him out. Now my president, he's gonna be evil. Where are they? Where is all the hypocrisy? Right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's pretty much it. You know what the most disgusting part about it is, though? Is that both political parties, be they Republicans or Democrats, they're both using this to their favor, which is absolutely freaking disgusting. Instead of trying to fix the problem, they're using it like, look what they're doing. This is horrible. Okay, let's go now.
Yeah. Dude, I'm so tired of both parties, man. Like I've said that countless times already, I'm so tired of this two-party BS system in the U.S., man, that, I know that we're not the only ones. I know that other countries, including Mexico, struggle with these BS parties. But it's us, the people, in any country. We need to wake up to this shit, right? Because we need to see the double standard. In this case, I'm inclined to agree in this case with Ted Cruz and the Republicans and saying, hey, AOC was able to do it. Videos were released. Why can't we release him now? Is it because it's going to hurt Joe Biden? In this case, and in every case, I'm inclined to agree with Ted Cruz. We need to cut the BS double standard, right? Biden needs to be called out for the kids in cages. Call his ass out. If Trump was going to be called out for it, good. I was 1,000% with it. So do it to Biden as well. Because it's not like Biden came in and said, boom, fixed. We did this. No. He already announced he's going to rerun. He already announced all these other BS stuff, right? He wanted to look real good because you see it all over social media. Oh, we're going to get another round of stimulus check. Trump was bashed because he wanted to put his name on the check. Yeah, I thought it was stupid too, right? But this guy, that's like his number one thing. It's like, when I'm in office, because that's what he wants you to remember. that he gave you money, you know, and say, hey, but the kids in cages, his famous, at this point, his famous quote, come on, man. Come on, man. He loves saying that shit to brush you off. With Trump, it was like, excuse me. With Obama is like, well, you know, every president has one. And this guy is, come on, man. Dude, come on, dude. Get your shit together, dude. Just saying. Anyways, that's it. Those are the two stories. You ever think about your other point you wanted to make about the other story?
No, I think I already said it. No, that's all good.
Yeah, okay. Cool. All right, Josh, I think we can leave it there. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's good enough for now.
Fair enough. Guys, thank you very much for watching. We appreciate you watching as well, but we also appreciate you watching. Yeah, hope you guys get to comment, like. You know what's gonna really help is if you guys hit that join button. We're literally trying to grow this show out of nothing. It's being sponsored by Summer Horizon Solutions this whole time, but you know that well may be drying up, so we're gonna need your guys' help, you know, to continue growing, because this is what Josh and I agree we want to do, man, you know, for the foreseeable future. So if you guys can spare about $4.99 a month, it goes a long way, you know. Every little bit counts. So if you click that join button, it would really help. But yeah, we'll leave it until there, and until next time, see ya.